Hello, folks. This is Ruth Meed again, and this is another episode in my education videos. I decided to switch gears a little bit from the stuff that I was doing that was specifically special ed and start talking to just about anybody who's needing some help with this homeschooling scare. We've all certainly had some crazy things going on with this, and I wanted to be able to encourage you with some ideas on how to handle having your kids home all the time and what to do with that. And so I have taken the time to develop a series of steps here. And my plan is to try to do at least 15 days, maybe even 30, to get you started with what you can do with your kids through this scare. So I'm calling this Homeschooling 101, even if your child learns a little bit different, what to do for the next first 30 days here. I'm just going to create a whole series of little simple steps that you can take every day. I was a teacher who taught teachers how to teach, so I'm going to just try to break it down for you. And when I'm all done, I will have a PDF of the script here for people who like to read this stuff or look at some of the resources that I might mention along the way as well. So let's just jump right into this and get started. Day one. The first thing you got to do is not panic. Don't panic. Instead, fix your mind on the Word of God and the verses that I'm going to give you here. I highly suggest that you memorize them. 1 Thessalonians 5:24, faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. Philippians 1:6, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will be faithful to complete it in you. And Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The first thing you need to do is set up some kind of a routine, and I'm going to give you a suggested routine, and it is suggested. You're dealing with an awful lot of stuff that's in flux right now, so you're not going to beat yourself up if you don't do things exactly the same way every day, but I am going to give you some kind of a suggested schedule here that you can adjust as you go, because you're working with a child. You're not working with a program or a curriculum. You're teaching your child, and you need to figure out the best way to teach your child. You're starting out from scratch and you're in a panic and you're not sure what to do. So I'm just going to talk you through some things you can do to learn your child, to learn what they need, and some things that you can do to get this set up and get it going. Every teacher knows that day one is simply just helping your students figure out what the supplies are, what they need, and how things are going to go and how things are going to be organized going forward. You might only spend some time reading a book or doing some simple math problems today, if you even do that. That's perfectly fine, because school is a lot more than just sitting down with a book or a math problem. You just need to get set up and organized first. The Bible talks about how a man has to sit down and count the cost before he builds a tower, Luke 14:28. So today and tomorrow, and possibly even the third day, is simply getting organized, giving you some ideas of routines, figuring out how things work, working with your child to create a system. But even using the word system here might be needing a certain flexibility. This truly is dictated based on each day and how things are going for you. You do need a routine of some kind. So you just go ahead and think your way through this. Now, here's a simple one that I've done. Some of these times in here I've suggested are for kids like 10 and up, but with younger kids, you're going to make your academic time shorter and needing a lot more energy breaks. So a general rule of thumb when you're thinking about this is 1 minute per year of age. That's the attention span before your child needs a break. So if they're 6 years old, when you're working with them, they need to be able to be engaged for about 6 minutes, and then they may need to stop and take a break and stand up or stretch or squirm or do something. If they're 10, they should be able to last about 10 minutes before they need to get up and squirm and move around a little bit. So here's the schedule. You should have your kids up and dressed and getting some kind of food by 8 to 8:30 in the morning. Getting them to help you with the meals is actually part of homeschooling. They learn a lot of math skills and reading skills when they're following procedures and recipes. Research has shown that kids gain a whole lot more, most of their reading and math, when you do that in the morning. So that's why this schedule is suggested where you do some things in the morning. So if you have them up and dressed and getting their food by about 8, then by about 8:30 to 9:15, you can do some reading. I really think you ought to do some kind of Bible first. Then you could be doing some social studies or history or science reading, but reading something of value is good. Part of reading should be some simple writing exercise or spelling. Then 9:15 to 9:30, take a break to exercise or something creative, like some kind of fun game like Legos or Lincoln Logs or dress up for the girls. There's a lot of research that shows that doing short stints of concentration followed by breaks is much better than 2 to 3 hours of some kind of intense work. Then 9:30 to 10:15, do some math. 10:15 to 10:30, take another break to do some other stretching and walking around your house or something. 10:30 to 11:15, science or history or more creative writing. Vary this by the day. And then 11:15 to 1, planning, making, and eating your lunch, as well as more exercise. Then your afternoon should be slotted for free activities. They're creative play related, going to the library, a park, or other activities, depending on the age of your kids. You can have them doing meal planning or prep, or maybe helping you do grocery shopping lists or things like that. So that's your suggested schedule. Now, the second thing that you want to do here in this first day is look at what you need for supplies. What supplies do you actually have on hand, and then organize them. This means pick a place in your house where you will set up some kind of a little homeschooling station. Take the time to organize the things that you have so you can find them easily going forward. You can teach your children organizational skills in the process. This may feel like it's not schooling, but it's actually the most important part of schooling. Organization dictates everything related to success later. You and your child need to know where things can be found and where they must be put back when things are done. This will be one of the routines that you build into your days. The last 10 to 15 minutes of any day or project should be dedicated to reorganizing things and putting them back in their right place. All of these items that I'm listing are things that are usually found in most homes and they could all be used for teaching. The Bible, pens, pencils, erasers, crayons, markers, a whiteboard, and whiteboard markers are awesome, but if you don't have them, that's okay. Same thing with a chalk or chalkboard. Some lined paper, some unlined paper. This can include the packing paper that comes in a box if you run out of other kinds of paper. Cardboard boxes. You can do a lot of fun things with cardboard boxes. Books at varying abilities for reading. I've got a note below on how to figure out readability levels. Paper clips, popsicle sticks, scissors, tape, staplers, and staples, checkers, or other forms of game pieces, different kinds of educational games like Scrabble. I have a bunch here, and I'm not going to get into all of them right now because I don't want to overwhelm you. So we're just getting some basic stuff here. You can use card games and other games and their components as part of your teaching tools as well. Dominoes, that's another good game that hopefully you can have, or you can even make your own little dominoes out of paper. Measuring cups, measuring spoons, rulers or tape measures, knives, forks, and spoons. You can use those for counting activities, your balls, some dice, little smooth rocks or objects like that can be used for counting. You can even use kidney beans or lima beans or other beans you have that are hard and dry and preferably not edible. Put these in a container that'll keep them organized, like a little glass jar, plastic jar, Tupperware container, yogurt container, something like that has a lid, and label it. So that's what you're doing. You're looking for these items, getting them organized, getting them into some place in your house that's your homeschooling nook. Now let's talk about a simple way to determine the readability of a book. Remember how your child first develop in small steps? The first thing that comes to mind when your child they get milk, but then when you're older, you get meat. Hebrews 5:12 and 13 and 1 Peter 2:2 says you give a young person milk and then you move them on to meat. So setting up the progress of reading and math is the same. There's simple concepts first, and then they grow. I would take the time to organize your reading books based on readability level so you have an idea what's there. If you don't know a lot about readability level, here's a basic suggestion. Kindergarten, all you're going to do at this point is help them to recognize their letters, their colors, red, and the little acronym that goes with this is usually Roy G. Biv. It's a funny little statement, but it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, brown, black, indigo, or violet. And some basic shapes like a triangle, a square, and a circle. In first grade, most likely they're going to be reading 2 to 3 letter words with a few 4-letter words. And these are also usually the common words that you see all the time. I'll add that list here so that you can reference it. Oh, you know what? I will put that down below, that list. It looks like I forgot to put that in the stuff that I did when I was posting it on some Facebook pages. Second grade introduces 4 and 5 letter words. Third grade introduces word combinations like something, someone. So if you're seeing longer words with more letters, but they're still fairly easy to decipher in combination in third grade. Fourth grade introduces a little bit more complicated words that break into syllables like introduce. Fifth grade and forward starts to introduce more and more complicated words that develop things like your Latin and Greek suffixes and prefixes, words like confront and confrontation. Sixth grade and following adds all of these kinds of words plus more specific words that go with subjects like zygote for science. After this grade level, if somebody can read at a sixth grade level, they're going to probably be able to figure out anything reading-wise going forward with a little bit of instruction and dictionary skills or figuring out the meaning of the words by their context. Now let's talk about math for a minute. A simple way to think about your levels in math. In kindergarten, you're basically just recognizing the numbers. You can actually write or recognize the numbers. And you're even if they're written backwards, it's okay. You're just recognizing numbers. In first grade, you should be able to count up to 50 by the end of first grade and do some simple adding types of things. Second grade, you should be able to count forwards and backwards to 20. You should be able to skip counting by 2s, 5s, and 10s, and by the end of the year, skip counting by 3s. You should be able to add and subtract 2-digit numbers and understanding place value up to 100. So you're working with introducing them to word families. So the word family would be 6 plus 2 equals 8, 2 plus 6 equals 8, 8 minus 2 equals 6, or 8 minus 6 equals 2. So you start to introduce a little bit of those concepts at that grade level. In third grade, you're definitely adding, subtracting with regrouping and renaming. 3 and 4-digit numbers. You're recognizing all the basic two-dimensional shapes, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, a diamond. You're understanding place value through thousands. In fourth grade, you're learning all the multiplication facts, 0 to 9, and you're able to multiply 2 digits by 1 digits, introducing basic concepts like fractions, identifying what part of pictures are fractions, understanding place value through millions. By fifth grade, you're learning how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with increasingly larger numbers, understanding place value through increasingly larger numbers, able to add, subtract with simple fractions, working with specified numbers of shapes based on attributes and figures and decimals, things like that. And then sixth grade and up, we can develop a lot of that later. This is only going to give you this is just to give you an idea of how to organize the stuff that you've got in your house right now. So that's it. This is all you're going to think about on day one. You're going to go and have fun. You're going to go get started and figure out what you're going to do. Take the time to get things organized. Use your kids to help you do the organizing and just have fun with them. Just really enjoy that time you've got with them and talking to them and working with them. Now, the one thing I do suggest is go back to the top and recite those verses again, and I'll have them down below again. So what were those verses? I'm going to say them one more time here for you. Let me go find them. They were at the top, and I'm going to just say them again. Don't panic. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. It's up to God to help you with this, and you're going to ask him. He has asked you to take on this challenge right now. He's going to give you the grace one day at a time, and you're only going to take on one day. You're not going to take on a week or a month, just one day at a time. Philippians 1:6, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will be faithful to complete it in you. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So go have fun with your kids, work on organizing things, work with them, teach them some of the organizational skills, figure out what you've got in the house, get an area set up so that you can find things and have some kind of a way of dealing with finding things. That's all you need to work on for today, and then just have fun with your kids. Get them outside playing, get them, riding their bikes or things like that so that they are active and engaged. And, be creative. You can go cook with them. You can create baking stuff with them. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with your kids in this time. Do some online virtual searches for interesting things. And I've got things on my Facebook pages, and I'll try to put some links down here of some other things that you can go to where there's virtual tours that you can take your kids on, where they can learn about different famous sites around the world. There's exercise videos that you can watch and do fun things with your kids. There's just a lot out there right now that's available to keep them engaged rather than sitting staring at some movie that they've watched 14 times or something like that. So praying for you, praying with you. Just take this one day at a time. Don't try to take it on all at once. There's lots of crazy things going on, but this gives you some kind of a structured idea of what to do for day one so that you can help your kids keep some kind of a meaningful schedule and some kind of a learning schedule. And I wish you a blessed day in the Lord.